What's good? This is coming from the most insecure nigga on earth. Alright, this is called the light skin effect. Because what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of people get stereotyped, and every basis on them is given to them, and all the credit they've gotten is because of stereotypes. I hope y'all can hear me. Sorry. Alright, so light skin effect is basically like this. Okay, I've already spoken on surface level attraction, alright, about how it gets you recognized, but those two videos were just basically intro videos to what's actually about to come in the future. Alright, so the light skin effect is one of my least favorite aspects of my life, because you start realizing when you're light skinned you get a lot more attention than you would normally get, because I come from a small town. It's very rural, not necessarily segregated, but there was a clear divide, if that makes sense. So when you're stuck in the middle, you have to choose basically what side would you like to be a part of. But instead of me choosing, I just based other people's actions on how they reacted to what I was doing already, because I didn't feel like I needed to change anything about myself to suit anybody else's needs. I felt like me being myself should be enough, and that they should accept what that was and understand more about what I like to do, as opposed to trying to understand who I was as a person. Because when you're young, most of what people think about you anyways comes from what you have done, not necessarily what you believe in, because we're children, our mind can be manipulated, etc., etc. So the light skin effect is basically a negative and a positive, because a lot of the times when I get stereotyped for being light skinned, it's usually for attributions that don't make sense. For example, being sad is attributed to being light skinned, okay? But if I'm never acting sad and I just act mad all the time, people attribute that to being light skinned. If I'm happy all the time, people attribute that to being light skinned. And it doesn't make sense how all these different categories that kind of like contradict each other and counteract against each other, how they can all define a person's skin color, which doesn't make sense. But I think it creates this standard for what the differences in people try to see in the common area. Because if you think about it, all mixed people are just the common ground for the two races, okay? Because if races existed, really the only two people that would matter were white and black people, because everybody else would just be an in-betweener between the white and black, okay? So if black being the extreme sees me, a lot of black people accept me solely because they acknowledge that I'm black, or they at least give me credit for the black features that I represent or that I bring to the table. And then a lot of white people, they like to treat me like I'm enough white or not enough black to be accepted by them, especially down here where I live in a richer area, more affluent area. Because I stay on campus, I'm not talking about Brunswick, but the Caucasians that I have encountered come from St. Simon's, which is a more affluent area as opposed to what I'm from, most definitely, and then Brunswick itself. So I get to see how these people actually interact with me and my coworkers and my manager, as well as just how they speak on life, period. Because excuse me, when you talk to these different people, everybody comes from a different walk of life, and I appreciate that. And in me appreciating that, people are more willing to tell me about themselves and tell me about personal preferences, etc., etc. Anyways, so then they start to let you know little subtle cues about how what they like about you, what they dislike about you. But normally with being light skinned, every attribution of what somebody likes about you is physical. Like that's the domain of being light skinned. And then what people tend to dislike about you is the characteristics of you disagreeing with anything that they already feel about you, like any misconceptions. Because a lot of girls in the past, based on how I look, have assumed that I was a hoe. And I've said this before. Okay, but what a lot of girls don't realize is I'm not, okay? And what a lot of girls don't realize past that point is that when I say I'm not joking. Like, I'm really not trying to do anything with anybody, because I don't see a point in that right now. So, as I continue down this journey of living, I guess, I start to see that it's more of an outside looking in. Everybody always tries to understand based on how you act, who you're around, how you dress, etc. When really I'm just living my life. But with the light skin effect in place already, when people already see how I look, they're gonna be more swayed to believe that's why I act the way that I act. Because one girl asked me if I had any black family, and I actually don't know any of my black relatives, but my stepfather was African American, and I attribute a lot of the lessons I've learned, a lot of stuff that I've learned based on behaviors I learned from him. Because when I was younger, I used to just watch how everybody in my household interacted with one another. Because I was really one of those reserved kids, LOL. And now I'm making YouTube videos. But it's really just life lessons of how to act. So whenever people try to tell me that I'm acting the way that I'm acting because of some circumstance or something that I can't control, it doesn't make sense. So basically, the light skin effect is just a stereotype based around these groups of people. They may deem us as more attractive or less attractive, or they may deem us as more suitable to live in an environment or a better standard. A lot of people think that they wish they were light skinned, or they wish they had some tan, or all these other factors of just being light skinned or being mixed. But a lot of the good sides of being light skinned are just skin color, honestly, because a lot of these light skins are ugly. People just take notice to the ones that aren't. Okay, but what people don't understand, especially in the South, is being light skinned is probably the worst. Honestly, like, in all of my experience of living, like, I've never regretted anything except the way I look. Because a lot of times I'm given benefit of the doubt, but a lot of the time people already have conceived ideas, and once somebody believes what they want to believe, they don't take too well to change the majority of the time. So to a lot of lighter toned individuals, I'm just a black person, and to a lot of darker toned individuals, I'm just a white person. So the struggles of life have been various and endless, and it never really dies. Like, I took a whole DNA test so I can know, not necessarily for me to know, but for me to have some tangible evidence that I know where I'm from. So, like, you can't deny what I am, if that makes sense. But there's still people that will tell me to this day that I'm not black, or people that will tell me to this day that I'm not white, and I don't care about any of that, because all those are just titles anyways. But what you need to understand is that I like to attribute everything that I've done to what I come from. So to deny someone like me of who I am, I look at that as the most disrespectful thing you can do to somebody, you know? So when I had intentions of making this video originally, I wanted it to sound good and uplifting, but in the grand scheme of things and how we all look at each other, I wanted to be known that I view myself as an equal, you know, because really at this point, before the summer comes, I really just want to explain the basis of, like, some of the life that I've experienced and some of the little values that I've taken. Like, basically from being mixed, I've realized that white people and black people aren't different, you know, but they just focus on the differences, if that makes sense. Like, that's literally it. And that I want a lot of people to know that my ideas aren't just me making up something, or they aren't just me wanting to be a savage or a rebel or any other title, but that I've actually lived some life. Like, I know a lot of people think they've lived a life or whatever, but I've actually gone through a lot of experiences, and it's really crazy considering I'm only 21, but you know, it is what it is. And yeah, I hope y'all keep watching, because like the videos are going to progressively just get more and more, if that makes sense, because I don't like this idea of fame that a lot of these people with influence have, because a lot of people are just famous, okay, and that's cool. I'll let them do what they're doing, but I never want that. I just want people to support why I do what I do, or why I say what I say, because I want them to understand that in the end, all I'm gonna want to do is make it better. So y'all take with it what you want. Y'all do what you want with that. Y'all have a good one. I'm gonna make like 2 or 3 more videos, honestly, but y'all be good. Don't get raped. And when I say don't get raped, I mean it. Like, if you feel any circumstance, okay, if you can think of any negative circumstance from any decision you're gonna make, just don't do it. Because I've lived on campus 2 years now, okay, and I've seen a lot of people. Okay, it might not seem like a lot in the grand scheme because I see them every day, but prior to college, this would be considered a lot of people, okay? And the epidemic of rape and the demographic of people that are rape victims, they coincide with each other, because people that are getting raped are more likely to be out there in those situations, which makes sense, because how could they have gotten raped if nobody was around, you know? But they're not responsible for what happened to them, okay, and they can't account for what happened to them. But in prevention, you can't necessarily know who a rapist is, but you can make the steps that you take in all the circumstances that you do. Just make sure that you always prepare for the worst case scenario, because you can never account for anybody else's actions. You can never rely on anybody, because once it's past this what you see, you don't know anything about them, no matter what they tell you, because everybody is just a face and a body and a stranger, okay? So y'all be good and be safe, because it's really sad out here, and it really bothers me that people are actually out here getting taken advantage of, and they're just allowing it to happen. Now I'm not talking about all rape victims, because I know a lot of y'all will probably take that differently, but a lot of rape victims that I've come in contact with are people who aren't willing to talk about it with anybody that has power to do something about it, if that makes sense. Like, they're more comfortable with keeping the secret than, you know, finding a consequence for their attacker. And I think that's sad. And I don't agree with that being the world we live in. I don't think rape should be something people have to worry about in my ideal world, but it's just what we live in, you know. It's really sad. So y'all be good, bro.